Welcome, low ego action heroes and phoenixes of all types. I'm Debbie Levitt from dcx, and you are here on a Wednesday with me and the always fantastical Dr. Nick. He'll be joining us in just a moment. I want to remind everybody that this is Ask Us Anything. If you have any questions, if you want to start a discussion, if you want to know how to do something, this is your time for free mentoring. So why not take advantage of it? It's free. I ask you for so little. Other than send your questions in. So you can send your questions through dcx.to/q, which will come in anonymously into my phone and my email. Or you can ask them in the chat, though they may pop up here on the screen and you may or may not want to be associated with them. Don't forget to join our online community, which is also free, like our Discord, which is almost at 500 people. So we're growing really nicely, dcx.to/Discord. And don't forget that we have a conference coming up. We have a 3-day event coming up in late May, where we're going to be talking about dealing with difficult workplaces, improving our time and energy, and branching out into new work areas. I hope you will check out the conference and join. So for now, let us bring in the always lovely Dr. Nick. How the hell are you?
Not always lovely, but good. Thank you very much. Definitely not always lovely. Most often not always lovely, but fighting the good fight in the name of loveliness.
That's right. Leopard's not eating our faces yet.
Not yet, but they're trying.
That's
but anyway,
true.
Yes.
Yes. So don't forget to follow follow Dr. Nick on LinkedIn, everybody. Don't forget. And hi, Ana Lucia. Good to see you here. And oh gosh, there was something I was going to ask you, and now I'm forgetting. All right. So then let's just jump into our first question, which actually came in just after our show ended last week. So I'm sorry to the person who asked it. Hey, KB, I didn't see this question come in. So this is what it looks like. When asked by a recruiter, why did you leave your last job? What should you say if they let you go? Not a layoff, but just didn't continue your contract or fired you. Nick.
I'm always honest with this stuff, you know. I mean, I guess I'm fortunate I've never needed to lie in that regard. I have had contracts cancelled on me, and I've told them why.
Yes.
I did a silly thing, right? There was one particular contract. I said a thing about the product manager in an open channel.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a really good one. That was a legendary.
Don't do that one.
Yeah, exactly. But when I picked up my next gig within the next week, I said what happened. You know,
Those were the days.
Stuff happens. I mean, that's how I play the game. I'm an reasonably open book, if you know what I mean.
Wait.
I find it easier to be authentic, tell the truth, just do good work, than play games, shenanigans, and bullshit.
And keep your story straight.
Keep your story straight. I mean, my story is straight because it's just there is no story. It's just the way it is. I think a lot of this is in the phraseology, right? And the context. If you've just been made redundant, it looks like you're a problem. But if your team was made redundant, or your entire business unit or division or what have you, that's a different game, because that's a business strategy level type thing, and you're just collateral damage in the bigger picture. Do you see what I mean? And that's probably a better story to tell, frankly. And if you can spin it that way and it's not completely lying, then that's a nice way to spin that out, because it's not personal. You've just seen the raft of redundancies, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's their whole vertical, the whole pillars just gone bye-bye from kind of middle management downwards. And if you're anywhere in that, it's not personal. It's, we needed to save X amount of money, we need to make the figures look a certain way, this is what we promised the board, etc. It's got nothing to do with your practitioner level work.
Yeah, KB says, the task I was hired to do was completed successfully. Yeah, I agree with Nick on this one. Luckily, I've never been fired. I've definitely had contracts canceled. I've had contracts canceled absolutely by surprise. The story that comes to mind is I got a phone call on a Sunday at noon. Never a good sign. And it was the recruiter that had placed me in a contract. And he said, I've got some bad news. Your last day was Friday. And my initial reaction was, what did I do wrong? I really thought that this was me being cut because of me. And he said, no, 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 it's not you at all. They love you. They decided they don't want to move forward on that project. You were only brought in as a contractor for that project. They've decided to move that funding to a different initiative. They now don't need you. I said, well, I have a desk full of shit. What happens next? He said, give me a list of what's at your desk and I'm going to personally go in and get it for you. And he did. And so that was awkward. I didn't even get to say goodbye. I tracked down some people later on LinkedIn and added them and sent my love. But in a case like that, I just have to tell the true story, which, usually the way I phrase it, because typically my contract is being ended or not renewed. Typically the way that I phrase it in a job interview is, I wish I could have stayed. I would have liked to have stayed. I liked that job. Unfortunately, they moved the budget somewhere else and there was no possibility of me continuing. I was a contractor. That contract ended. And so, I like Nick, I have the luxury of not necessarily having been fired. No one has ever said like, we're not happy with you, you suck, get out of here, or something along those lines. I've never written something wonky in a chat and but I think even, if it's a contract, there's always a way to be able to say, hey, I would have liked to have continued with that company. I liked the job, but my, sorry, I got my volume up and it scared me when an email came in. But because I have these great new in-ear monitors, # not sponsored. I was like, yeah, I think even if you are fired, there might if it's a contract, you can always still use a similar line like, I would have liked to have stayed. I liked the job. Unfortunately, my contract was not continued, or my contract was ended early. The downside to lying is UX is a very small world. I've been amazed sometimes at how small a world it is. Sometimes I'm doing a talk in another country and someone's like, wait a minute, I used to work with you, or, oh my God, I've heard of your book. Okay, so maybe I'm a little well known, but I have some small world stories. And so the problem is, if somebody knows somebody who knows somebody and they know the real story and you come in and you go, oh, hey, I was having a great time at that job. Everybody liked me, but the contract got cut. You run the risk that somebody knows the real story, which might not match that. So I don't know a good way to say they fired me, and especially if there was a good reason. There are obviously people who get fired because they blew a whistle or because they fought for quality and the team didn't want quality. But I guess it kind of depends on why someone got fired as to how much I would say. Ana Lucia loves your RGB light. That looks like an Elgato. Is that an Elgato light?
You're wearing the light. Okay, this is all trickery. Watch this. It's not that light at all. It's this.
You got us. Oh, we're getting an anonymous question in. Let me just field that. Please hold. It comes into my email, and I have to do lots of copy paste.
Ana Lucia, I'm using the light as a reflector, which is pretty trippy. But there we go.
Got us.
There's something I wanted to say though.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm prepping the next question.
Contracting. People who don't make it through the contract or don't get renewed, right? Not getting renewed. It happened to me one time when it happened at the end of a 2-year contract, and basically, I took it really badly because I've always been renewed. I'm always like, why wouldn't you renew me? like it's all great. So a lot of people sometimes don't get renewed, and I think it's because they've entered contracting too soon, right? And they're just not used to the contracting life, the freelance mentality, the mindset, the service. It's a very different way of working. You're not a permanent person. You know what I mean? You might be in with the crew and working on the team and doing the stand-ups, but you're still an external. and it comes with all kinds of. It's very different. What happens is people get into contracting, they don't really appreciate that stuff. What?
No, because KB says we're magicians. Nick, I have to interrupt you. I feel like a newsreader. This just in, the person who sent the question explained why they got fired. Are you ready?
Oh, okay.
None of us are ready for this. So first I want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank the person for sending in what was obviously a very difficult story. So let me put it up on the screen and I'm going to read it out loud. The story appears to, wrong button. I've done it again. Okay. Sorry, I'm supposed to hit number 4. Okay, 4. That makes it superimpose. Okay, the story says, I had a huge burnout due to stress from my manager and was diagnosed as clinically depressed. Even had to go through angioplasty with 2 stents in my heart. But at the end of it, my manager said, you didn't perform, so we're letting you go. This was during the month my org was celebrating Mental Wellness Month. When I was being honest, most hiring managers, out of concern, said, take rest, and didn't select me. What I needed, though, was a new team and a new manager for real. So there's that. That is quite the story, of course, with extra thanks to that person for sharing that with us. I think that I would tell some of that story. I think that I would probably say that I was facing a number of health issues at the time. I ended up having some heart issues, which have since been resolved and fixed, assuming that they have been. And I ended up having to take some time off due to the heart condition. And when I returned, my manager said, we're letting you go. I think that's the piece of the story that I would probably tell. Obviously, there's parts of that story I'm purposefully leaving out because you said when you tried to interview and told the whole story, people didn't select you because they might have thought you were fragile or still needed rest, and you're saying you wanted to get back to work. So I think that you can tell a piece of that story. And I would, knowing that people have rejected you for all of that story, I would probably tell a piece of that story. The piece that serves you best. Melanie says, that's really unfortunate. I hope they're better now. And hi! Yeah, Melanie's gone home. She's not at my house anymore. Now I'm going to cry. But yeah, I think I would tell the piece of that story that serves me best. Nick, what about you?
I'm not going to go too far into this, but I've got 2 stents. So I know where you're at.
Wow. Okay, virtual hugs to Nick and to our anonymous question person for...
Do you want me to flex? I'll flex for a minute and give you some deeply personal shit.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're going to like pull down your shirt and show your scars. Yeah. Like my grandparents used to compare bypass scars.
No, I had a heart attack in a 9 o'clock stand-up. I was back at work 2 weeks later.
Wait, what year was this?
5 years ago.
Just before we knew you.
18,
pre-pandemic. Okay.
19. Yeah, pre-pandemic. Anyway, let's not go into my medical history. Okay, let's talk about this stuff because I don't advertise it apart from on on things like this, right?
Right.
It's not. It doesn't define me. It's not who I am.
Right.
But the reason why I said that is because I want to say something that's going to sound particularly harsh to the question asker, and this isn't me being harsh to you, okay? I just want you to know that I'm in the same boat as you, okay? Had 2 major events before the age of 50, and I'm 12 stone, okay? It's genetic cholesterol. That's the bottom line.
I wish I were 12 stone.
Yeah, I've been 12 stone my whole life. I'm just a lucky bastard. That's my metabolism. And I eat.
And you didn't go through menopause.
Well, not yet, or menopause, whatever they call it. Anyway, let's not do this. Well, they call it the menopause. Anyway, in northwest London. Sorry. What was I saying? Fuck, my head is all over the place with this one.
You had 2 events before the age of 50.
I'm going to be harsh about this one. If your employer is making up stuff and saying, look, you're not performing or whatever the reason, no matter how baseless it is, they're worried that you're basically going to drop down dead on the job. Okay? And that sounds harsh. Okay? Whether it's realistic or unrealistic is not the point. That's their perception. And to most other folks, that's a very scary thing. Their mortality or death or that kind of stuff on the workplace. Now, it's very discriminatory. It's probably not legal, but how you prove that and do that stuff, I do not know. And I wouldn't even want to kick up a stink. I don't make a big deal of mine or anything because I don't want people to feel like we've got to treat this guy with kid gloves, right? Stress kills people like us. We know this, right? But we live in a very stressful world, and our UX world and the corporate enterprise UX world is particularly stressful. If you're a researcher, it's fucking stressful, right? It is what it is. It's gravity. You can't change it. It just is. You can manage your response to it, okay? You can't change the world, right? I'm trying, but you can't. So number one is protect yourself, right? If they don't want you around, I know you need to work. You desperately need to work. We all do. But you can kind of get a fresh start with somebody who doesn't know, and these events won't have happened, and you don't need to disclose it. You do want to get the medical insurance back again, obviously. Right? So that's the thing. Think of it like a fresh start, and don't make a big deal of it. Don't. It's like my ADHD. I don't really advertise it, apart from on social media. But you know what I mean, on the job. I really don't. And before my social media stuff or whatever, I've never made a big deal of it. I'm from Generation X. As far as I'm concerned, you leave that shit at home. But that's my old, outdated attitudes. You know what I'm saying? You don't bring it into the workplace. Whereas today, you bring everything to the workplace. It's just a different kind of a mentality. But I think I'm rambling at this point. You have lots of love and support from me. I know where you're at, you know, I really do. Hang in there, get more work. Don't tell anyone, push forwards. Be awesome anyway.
Yeah, we got another question coming in, but my system ate the page I was writing on. So give me one moment to catch up with myself because we're getting some questions. Oh, where did I put that? Nope, that's not where I put that. Hold on. Trying to find the file where I keep the questions. I just erased my computer the other day because it was misbehaving, and now I can't find anything. And I can't spell. All right, I should just go back to sleep, right? Okay, hold on.
By the way, to all of your listeners or to anyone listening, now that you know that about me, now can you get an understanding why I'm in such a hurry? Right? Why I don't have time, why I'm not as patient. Okay, my ADHD impatience is legendary, but there's time pressure here. I need to get what I know into the world whilst I'm here. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, sometimes we all feel like we're on borrowed time, unfortunately. Ana Lucia said, it may also have to do with the country's laws. It depends. For example, it's not possible to renew a temporary contract more than 3 times. After 3 temp contracts, they have to issue a permanent contract in Portugal. Some companies try to get around that by not renewing contracts more than 2 times. Yeah, I had a little bit of that in America where you weren't supposed to be a contractor at a company for more than 18 months. Ana Lucia also said, I know of a certain company that had to deal with an employee having a stroke while at work. They didn't fire him, though. I think they got scared of being sued and gave him special perks to shut him up.
Yeah, in Europe, you can't do that. It's unfair dismissal, or it's just illegal. You can't do that.
Okay, we have a fresh question from the chat. Welcome to Pet Dat Cat on Twitch. And Pet Dat Cat says, how can UX research candidates mitigate stigma on their resume? For example, 1-year career gap due to job searching, multiple short contracts that look like job hopping. Nick?
I shouldn't even be saying this, but I'm going to say it because I'm just reflecting reality. You know what everybody else is doing and have been doing for the past 8 to 10 years? Make it up. And that's awful. I hate it. But that's the market right now, and has been that's the standard, right? You can say, make whatever claims you like in your resume. Very few people, if any, will validate or check any of that. So what happens is, and I've seen it with people I've worked with, and so I know what their CV should look like and what it looks like when it hits LinkedIn, right? You tag that year of gap onto the back of the last job or onto the front of the next job, and you just sandwich that time away, and no one's going to challenge it or check the year. And that's not the way it should be. The way it should be is your CV should be validated, right? But it doesn't, and there's no one's got time for that anymore, or nobody wants to. So yeah, I hate that's the God's honest truth, and I hate to kind of preach lies, if you know what I mean. But you're in a competitive world right now, and being holier than thou and pristine you're just going to lose. And that's what happened in the UX portfolio stakes. People like me, Debbie, others, we've all got great proper UX portfolios that have generally got a lot of black and white and lots of information architecture diagrams, which aren't particularly sexy compared to a very high resolution creative director's portfolio. Right? It can't compete. So, what am I saying? You can't lose out by being just good.
Dishonest.
You have to play a certain game that's being played to get hired, and it involves a lot of tomfoolery. Is that fair to say, Debbie?
Well, it depends what you mean by fair, because obviously I'm going to give the opposite advice. So, that...
that's the advice I would like to give, but that's not the world we're in.
Right. So here's the thing. It's not that Nick is wrong. I think it's very easy to fudge a resume and mostly get away with it. You obviously run the risk that you don't get away with it. We were talking just before about what a small world UX can be, and you do run the risk that somebody says, "Hey, wait a minute, I worked with Debbie, and Debbie worked with this candidate. I'm going to check with Debbie. What does she think of this candidate for the 2 years that she worked with her?" And I'll say, "What do you mean? Well, I only worked with her for 6 months." So no one stops anybody from lies and deceit and fudging and squishy squish, but you do run the risk that this becomes known. And that's true for any lie, whether the lie is a small one, like you finished uni when you didn't really finish uni, or the lie is a larger one, like I worked there for 2 years when you worked there for 4 months. This is going to be up to individual morals, individual ethics. So I can't tell anybody, look, you must do this or you must not do this. Even people are telling me to lie on my resume. So this is a very common piece of advice right now. It is just not one that I agree with. I tend to be honest to a fault. I tend to be honest even if it hurts me. But that's where I am, and it looks like that's where Melanie is. Melanie says, "I can't and won't lie about my experience. If that means I never get another UX job, oh well." Go ahead, Nick. Yeah, counterpoint.
The counterpoint to you and Melanie is that you and Melanie have both got, and me, we've got great experience. We don't really need to lie or embellish or shine up. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is my experience. You either want it or you don't. It's factually there and correct. I don't lie either. I don't need to. It's all validatable. That's not the point here. If you're younger in your career and you're competing and you're lower down the kind of experience chain, people are looking for those differentiators, or you're easily chucked out of the pile if you have a big gap or looks like job hopping. So shenanigans, games, or whatever you call that, are played. Because it's really messy. Now, if we had better filtering or some kind of assessments or some kind of certifications or qualifications or something that meant something, we could check knowledge, then everything changes. But until that point, it's all self-reported BS.
Yeah, and the thing that I would add to that is that I once heard some advice, though it wasn't recent, but they said that if you do have a gap, reframe it. While you had that gap, did you take a course? Did you practice a new technique? Did you upskill in something? You can indicate that while you were between jobs, you spent that time learning and improving. that some people care. I think the problem is that this reminds me of something that Hong Shu said on LinkedIn, and I don't always agree with him, but I'm still going to say it out loud. And he said that all of the candidates out there right now are competing against laid off FANG employees. And so a lot of us, including me, might be undesirable because I never worked at Facebook, Meta, Alphabet, Google, Amazon, Netflix, Amazon. And so in that case, even if I filled in my gaps with all kinds of lies and wackery, I still might not be the candidate who is selected because I didn't work at Google. Now, I can name some people who would tell me to go back to my resume and pretend I worked at Google, because who is ever going to know? Because they have 9 squillion people working there and no one would really know if it's true or not. But again, between me and me, I just am not comfortable lying on that level, though we all know people who do. Melanie, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to read some chat comments.
Go for it.
Melanie says, I know that makes me an unemployable dinosaur, but I really don't care. KB says, do we want to act in accordance with how the world runs or how we want it to run? And Melanie says, yeah, but in the last 7 years, I have a lot of gaps in my work experience due to things like the pandemic, health reasons, and a shitty job market. And Pet Dat Cat, who asked the question, said, I appreciate the honesty and differing perspectives. Nick, something to add?
No, it's all good.
Yeah, you can do any of these things, or it's really a spectrum. You decide. It's just like, do you tell a new employer why you were fired from a previous job? You decide how much of what truth you're telling. And we get it. We get that that's a difficult choice. That's how I feel about that. That is the last question we have right now. So if anybody has a question or wants to open a discussion or needs some help with something, you can send it in the chat, or you can send it up at the top of the screen. It says dcx.to/Q. And don't forget to register for our upcoming conference. You can learn more about it at dcx.com. There's a link to the conference from there, everybody. What else? I don't see anything else coming in. Nick, anything on your mind that you want to talk about?
Hot topics. London, I'm doing a meetup in a couple of weeks, but that's just in London. I'll do it online later on.
Yes, plug the things you're doing, please.
I've been working on a new kind of a methodology called RAPID, which is a recursive acronym for rapid assessment and prototyping for interaction design, which is a kind of a forced acronym, but doesn't matter. RAPID, it's all about fast research, and that's what I'm kind of focusing on for the next few weeks. I tried it out quite a few, on about 15 to 20 sessions before Christmas to basically kick the tires on it, find out where it breaks, where it doesn't break, and it's pretty bulletproof, to be fair. So going to be talking about that. Then I will do an online version of it at some point in the following weeks of that. It's just if I do a hybrid or online version, no one will turn up physically, because everyone will just do it from home, and I want the physical interaction. You know what I'm saying? I think I miss it. That's the whole point of a meetup. We can do online Zoom stuff all day and all night, but getting together over beer and pizza is a rare old treat that I want back.
So how can people find out more about this and sign up to join you in person? What day is it, etc.?
It's in 2 weeks. Find it on my LinkedIn feed. I just want to say, though, I won LinkedIn this week with the best April Fool's post. And it's probably one of my most successful posts behind the PhD one a few years ago. It got like 140,000 impressions. It went bonkers. A couple of thousand likes and 50, 60 shares.
Congratulations, sir. What did it say?
Yeah, but it basically said something along the lines of, I've been getting screwed so many times in UX. I thought I might as well get paid for it, so I've opened an OnlyFans page, and I'm giving up my UX career and going into OnlyFans base. And the reason why OnlyFans is great is because it's so much like UX in all these fields. And one was like the opening one was in UX. I was told, can't you just make it pretty? On OnlyFans, I am the pretty. It's that kind of stuff. Or in UX, I was told I was too sensitive, but on OnlyFans, being sensitive, too passionate. Passion is literally the point. So it got everybody laughing. So happy days. But I wish it was something deep and meaningful that I write rather than something humorous, right?
Right. Same.
I wish I was affecting the world rather than just being another freaking jester, another clown. But hey, this is the role we play.
That's what they think feeds the algorithm. When I post something that I think is really important and something I want people to know and think about, LinkedIn shows it to 300 people. Like, it's just getting lower and lower. It's ridiculous. Even the same on YouTube. But my thought is, as long as we're helping some people, I'm going to do it. When nobody shows up to these, I'll wind them down.
My view is just I'm going to keep putting my thoughts out. I'm not playing to the algorithm, and I won't ever do that. I'm putting out what I think when I think it, kind of stuff. And if people don't like it, that's fair enough. But at least I've got it out there. And if it really resonates with them, that's great too. But I think creating content that people want to hear is already really wrapped up. There's a whole world of that. I want to give them the content that they need to hear. And they might not want to hear it, and tough shit. That's my role, and given my heart condition, that's an active choice. Like, that's literally the hill I'm going to die on, because that's what I believe in. I could do without the stress of all the fights and all the stuff, but it's a necessary fight. And there aren't many people like people like Debbie and I who are truly equipped to fight it. Not many of us, so we have to fight it. It's that important.
Yep. I'm going to jump into a comment from Melanie, which we're going to turn into a discussion topic. Melanie says, okay, so how about the AI that allows someone to create an entire app from prompts? Nick, I sent you that thing called Replit the other day, where you could put in a prompt. It did all of the UX and UI design and starts creating a real system. Nick, thoughts?
Oh, because I've been working on AI teams for 2 years now, and I spent the past 2 weeks, you know me, for the past year I've been bellyaching about how shit AI is for user research, and it has been, and it's still largely shit.
Yes.
However, in the past 2 months, there's been some massive next level changes, right? Long story short, I've spent the past 2 weeks, I'm not a coder, never have been a coder. I'm a 54-year-old script kiddie at the very best, right? I'm just not a coder. I've built a website that's connected to an embedded database, basically, or a spreadsheet, all using AI, and I couldn't have cut a line of this myself. I've got it hosted on something. It's all beautiful, and AI helped me do the whole thing. And when I couldn't do it, I took screen caps and showed it to the AI and said, fix it. I then got it to do wireframing stuff. I've got it to do Figma concepts. It will do everything to an okay level. And I'm saying okay level. It's an okay enough level at the moment, and it's only going to get better from here. I would say, my personal opinion, that AI only really started like a month ago, right? It's been around, but I would consider that like alpha or something. We're now in a late beta. Things are getting real and good and actually useful and valuable. All the apps that I've been using, models, in particular Gemini 2.5, the big one with 1 million tokens, I got up to about 500,000 tokens used. They still trip balls, right? They'll do terribly bad things. I've had Claude changed my entire database labelings because it just thought it was a good idea. Why? It changed it from the actual names to made up names. Last night it restructured the database without asking. So there's some very bad behavior, but it's also absolutely incredible. Similarly, most importantly for the UX folk in here, Go to aistudio.google.com. Okay, just look up AI Studio in Google. That's where you'll find Gemini 2.5, the preview version. Chuck in your transcripts, and chuck in a lot of them. Okay, whether you want to anonymize them is up to you. We'll talk about that separately. Chuck them all in, and then ask big questions of the entire sample or multiple samples. Right? It can do it, and it can do it without hallucinating. And that's what I mean about this being the start of good stuff. Right? Do that. You will start to find insights that you had no idea about, or start to get the macro insights, which it's absolutely spectacular. Try it out for yourself. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I've used Claude a little bit similarly recently, and I had mostly good experiences with it. So I think it is worth experimenting with some of that analysis, synthesis, reporting side of it. But of course, it works best when it's not garbage in, you know, when you feed it good transcripts from good interviews, and you have the permission to do that, because obviously some of these AI policies are going to violate wherever we work. But feed it into whatever you're allowed to do, and at least experiment with it and see where whichever system you're using might be strong and helpful, or weak and time wasting.
If your company has a usertesting.com license, I checked all the acceptable use policies. Theirs says we can use your data can be used for anything. Your image, all of that can be used publicly broadcast, could be fed through AI or anything. Everybody else, it's down to the study creator. So you can, if you've done a usertesting.com source study, just chuck it all in. Don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you for that. Another thing Melanie asked as kind of a follow-up to that question is, what impact do you think a tool that can seemingly do the UX and the UI and write the code, what impact do you think it will have on the tech industry as a whole?
Oh, that's what everybody's answering right now, and everybody is scrambling to do. It's a really massive question. The common vision is that, or one of the potential futures, I'm not going to think that's all this is product managers with arrays of bots in front of them, right? One's called designer, one's called researcher. Do you know what I mean? Or product bot toolbox with them all in, right? So you go, researcher bot, go do a discovery for me on pens, right? Comes back with the insight, then great, now go and take the insight about the pens and make me a website that's selling pens. You know what I'm saying? And then blah, blah, blah. You could basically engineer the whole thing, get the content, the service design, everything done by bots. It's exactly as Debbie called out just a minute ago. It's garbage in, garbage out, and this is why I'm still better than AI at UXR. So is Debbie, and so are most all of you, right? Because that's my saving grace. That's what it will be, unbeatable for quite some time. Your bedside manner, your human-human interaction beats human-computer interaction all day, every day. Boom. And that's it, game over. If you're a PM and you're super busy and you can't have the tail wagging the dog. So if your research bot is tripping or making stupid suggestions, you don't know any different. Right? That means bad insight has just gone in at the front side of a process, and you're going to build the wrong thing.
Right.
So, number one, PMs want to delegate blame. So it won't be just them on their own. But more importantly, you need experience driving the bots. So you need a senior researcher or someone of experience using the research assistant bot to help them go faster. And I think that's the product team of the future. Right? Engineers go faster because they can engineer faster. Researchers go faster because we've all got research, engineering, content assistants, right? So the nature of work changes, but it doesn't mean one person's doing everything like a superhero. It just means we're becoming more efficient, more hybridization of roles. So here's the thing. Okay, we can discuss this. I'm going to chuck this back to you, Deb. We came from a world of research and design in all-in-one architect consultant role. Call it the full stack role.
I didn't. You always talk about that, and I didn't come from that.
Oh, I did. Well, me and all of my folk in the UK, that was the world from 2009 to 2015. Everybody was an UX architect or a UX consultant. That meant we did the research and we did the design. So I did the research, I did the discovery, then I did the prototyping, then I did the user testing, and then repeated it until good. And that was UX. Where am I going with this? Sorry, what was I just saying, Deb? Oh yes, so the full stack thing that was a big deal in my part of the world. And in some parts of America, I think, or other parts of the world. I wasn't a freak, or the UK wasn't alone in this. I think there's a return to that coming. I think that's possible, and I think that the AI bits are going to facilitate more hybridization. Now, think about this. If you're a researcher and designer, currently, that should be a partnership, and it is in some parts of our world, but it's not the amazing partnership that it used to be, or all in one. When I learned about the personas and the context, I didn't need to transfer it to anybody because I knew it. And I could design to the solution that I firsthand witnessed or learned about. There's something lost in the transfer, in my humble opinion, or the modern ways of working, or loss of agile, or the lack of partnership between research and design means that these are two parallel, like ships in the night, whatever you call them. It's not a partnership. So if you goes back to one, if you take the UX designer and they acquire research skills, or the researcher acquires design skills, much less likely, you end up with somebody who is able to learn and solve. And I think in a reduced world that's AI supported, I think that's a real possibility. And I think in some parts of the world you'll see it already happening. But that's just my opinion and my perspective. I can't say.
Yeah, that's not how I started. My career path was different. I started out as a strategist and information architect and interaction designer. And every job I had in America did not expect me to be a researcher, and they didn't expect me to be an artist. The UI jobs and the brand and the visual and graphics were still a separate job. So I could come in as a very slightly T-shaped specialist to cover that stuff. I quickly moved into usability testing my own stuff. So I was doing the evaluative research side of things, and then eventually grew into the generative research side of things. And so I had a little bit of a different path there. Now, I will certainly agree with Nick that some of my favorite projects are where I get to do that full arc, where I get to look at the project strategically, do the early generative or discovery research, and then understand the problems, the people, context, systems, write problem statements, take a look at what's really going on here. And then from there, information architecture, interaction design, service design, usability testing, iteration, etc. As long as I don't have to do the art, because I'm still a crap artist. I think that hybridizing, we're going to see the continuation of hybridizing jobs. My main concern there is, and has been for many, many years, is I always hope, though sometimes hopelessly, that the person in that job is going to get a reasonable amount of time to do all of those things well. When a company acts like research, you can do that in 2 days. Even if AI helps us, I'm not sure we can do great, especially discovery research, in 2 days. Evaluative research I can do in a day. Great discovery research might not happen in 2 days if you're going to properly plan it and recruit it and all that stuff. So I'm just hoping that, even if we're assisted by AI, fine, but I just want to make sure that we haven't completely dropped the ball on quality. If we really get to a point where there are no standards for quality and nobody cares how shitty any of our work or designs or whatever are, then at that point, nothing matters. You might as well do no research. You might as well have AI design it. And you might as well just give it to customers with a middle finger with a bow on it. KB says, seems like UX folks are morphing into something like genetic counselors in the medical field, where their role is to explain to people what the results mean and help them make well-informed decisions. That would be strategic. I would love to be more strategic. I think a lot of us would like to be more strategic, but very often we're blocked because a product manager says, no, I'm in charge of the strategy. I want to circle back to the original question for a moment because it's still on the screen. And I think some of this grew out of what I showed Melanie and then I sent to Nick, which was a tool called Replit. R-E-P like Peter, L-I-T like Thomas. Definitely not sponsored. I have no idea who these people are. But what happened was I was on a call with a client because I'm doing a lot of, right now I'm coaching an entire team of people, actually 2 companies I'm coaching teams, which is really cool, but I'm coaching a team and they were telling me about their process. And they were telling me that after they do discovery research and they analyze the problems and they work on potential solutions, they go to Replit and they give it a prompt so that Replit basically designs the system. At that point, they have I would say a highly functioning coded prototype, albeit by AI. They usability test that. They use that at, Nick and I might have made an Acture prototype. These people are making something with Replit. So it replaces the Acture, the Figma, the prototyping. They take that to usability testing on the assumption that maybe it's 80% close. They can then see where it's successful or where it's failing as the execution of an idea. And at that point, they get designers involved and the designers start fine-tuning it based on what they learned in the usability testing. So I think that's a very interesting approach, and I think it's something we're going to see more of. And I hope it means that we need good designers who know what the hell they're doing so that when the usability testing information comes back, they truly know how to make something better and more accessible and better information architecture. But I wouldn't be surprised to see companies start shifting that kind of first round of designs to AI to hopefully then at least go through some cycles of testing and iteration. Nick?
Yeah. I mean, people are doing that right now because this idea of starting with a blank page, even like today in April 2025, is like archaic, right? It just feels that way. You reach for the AI first now. And if you're not, you should be and working out how to fit it into your job because that's the reality moving forward. So I find myself forcing myself to use AI when it's probably quicker just to open up Figma and do something rather than say try again, listen to all the frigging apologies and all the other stuff that goes on. But it's part of the process of new technology, learning, going with the curve. So there's no point waiting till it's mature or waiting till there's a nice tidy workflow. That ain't happening. Like, we're part of that solution. You need to like house break it for you or house break yourself to it, or do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a true cognitive ergonomics is what we're really saying. It's just the reason why I say it's kind of like AI 1.0 now is up until now I would have said don't waste your time, but now it's worth it. Like it's a lot less frustrating. Yeah, generally speaking.
Yeah, I still think it's worth experimenting with. I think people should know about it. They should be familiar with it. You don't have to know every tool. You don't have to try every tool, but we should know that there are tools out there that are doing this design work, that there are tools out there that are building these apps in minutes. We should know about this, and if there's room for it in our process and it makes us better, give it a try. If it's making us worse, or we're spending more time babysitting it, or it's doing disastrous designs that aren't worth testing, then it's either not the right process or not the right tool. But what my client showed me yesterday with Replit was honestly quite surprising. I was surprised at a reasonably good design that it made given a 1-sentence prompt. And it built an entire system that would have allowed people to log in. And in this case, the test prompt it gave them was something about creating a system where people can list their car for sale and get multiple offers. And it designed a system where you can list a car with photos and information, and then people can make offers on it. And so KB was saying most valuable hallucination, and certainly AI still does a lot of hallucinations. But I really, it was hard to look at this client's process and say, know you're doing it and try to, wave all of my banners of human-centered design. I said, look, I just want to make sure you have a prototype that you are putting in front of users and testing in preferably multiple rounds before you are coding it or putting it out there as a product. And they said, yeah, we are doing that. Though the code that this thing writes isn't perfect, but it's close. And they said what we can do with it is once the designers tweak it and improve it and fix it and whatever, we could actually have this AI tool code it, and we can put that out as the MVP. We don't even have to ask the engineers to build it. We could have the thing that Replit made as the MVP to see if we can start getting real users and monitoring their behaviors in the system. And that way you're then doing kind of that post-MVP evaluative research. And so it was really hard. My gut said, oh my God, tell them they're, breaking the holy laws of whatever. But my thought was, as long as you have a good, I hate Figma prototypes because you can't even type in a box. So if you give someone a form, like pretend you're selling your car, they can't. They can't pretend they're selling their car. They can't even write the word fiat in a box. If you have a decent, realistic, working prototype that you can test, it's hard for me to say, I don't like how you made it. I don't like the tool that made it, So that's where this is getting a little scrambly for me.
I know that when I say evaluative beats generative because it kind of covers generative, this is what I mean. Concept testing, proof of concept testing, that kind of discovery level base need understanding, like find the pain type stuff. Showing people a thing in Angio, AI generated, Figma, code, whatever. You understand the generative, the high level, it comes out. You're just using the appearance of user testing as a stimulus in marketing, in market research terms, right? That's what it is. So the world will catch up to me, hopefully whilst I'm still breathing. Now that creating that proof of concept isn't a big deal, you don't need engineering time, you don't need a designer's time, you can just go ahead and do it yourself on any wacky hypothesis you've got or evidence. You can start from evidence or start from idea, but you can go quick and start to very quickly. Then go look at my video on scientific design. It's all about structured inquiry at that point. Trust me, you'll get there because this is what it's about. We're getting into a world of science that nobody wants to get into, but it's coming. It's the way to do things.
KB says, this is what makes me think we'll see truly personalized UX. If you can have a profile that follows you around, why can't websites and experiences be dynamically built on the fly in a way that makes sense to each user, similar to how you sign in via Google or something similar? Or maybe websites are a thing of the past and you'll just prompt in a central location to get all the things you need.
KB, I'm sorry to jump in there. KB, this is my PhD. This is my PhD thesis, right? I had a whole concept around what I call PUIs, personal portable user interface, and this is back in 2007. Yes, why have we got UIs that are just using the same thing that's generic and averaged to the average user or the lowest common denominator? That's ridiculous. You're right. We've got bandwidth, ubiquitous computing. There's good reasons why you can have your experience wherever you'd go, on your microwave, on your fridge, in your car, on your toothbrush, on your phone, on your watch. You know what I mean? What I mean? You get the point, right? And you can configure them, and they could all be pink if that's the way you want them, or all Lord of the Rings, or be specific to the needs of that particular thing, or blending with the car, or better functionally under certain conditions, or obscuring certain functionality under certain contexts. All of the really brilliant stuff that can be done with interaction design. So yeah, you're right. One size does not fit all. Look up my paper, kind of famous paper called Avoiding Average, Dr. Nick Fine. Look up that because it's all about saying we're designing for average, and what's the point? Because we're all not average.
So you're saying Spool stole that from you?
Avoiding Average is me, 100%. So it's locked in. It's in the literature database. It's in every Athens database. 100% evidenced. That's me. I am Avoiding Average.
Then I've got some news for you, sir. Spool stole that and presented it as his own.
a certain person who I won't name.
Yep.
Read that same paper, and in the ACM, the American Society for Computing Machines, in the Interactions magazine, it's like the HCI. It's a big important magazine for academic HCI stuff. Pretty much use my exact words, just turn them around, saying basically, we design for the average. There's just a paradox, in that we design for the average user. I can't say the person's name. I don't want to perjure myself, or not perjure. Point the finger. What's the word? Slander.
Right. It's only slander if it's not true.
Well, do you know what? Here's the thing. I take it as a level of flattery at this point. It means I'm influencing. And that's really the important thing here.
Given how much Spool is stolen from me and how much money he's made that I didn't, I don't take it as flattery. Because remember, how much effort does it take to say, I agree with Debbie Levitt when she said this? But you and I aren't malignant narcissists.
I'll post it up on LinkedIn tomorrow. I'll put my paper up there with a link to it on academia.edu or at Springer, wherever it was published originally. It's a great paper. It's only 2 pages, 3 pages. It was a paper for the Symposium on Entertainment Computing. But it was just a thought piece, and it's a really cool thought piece that's still 15, 20 years ahead of its time.
Isn't that just us? At some point, Nick, we should do a show where we're like sharing our screens and trying some of these AI tools and talking about them.
Hey. You know what I'd love to do? I can show you some of my raging against the machine that will have you crying. Like, you'll probably need to wear diapers or something. Like, it's me losing my mind with the machine for hours. I've learned through the past 2 or 3 days, there is a point at which it will lie to you, but it doesn't know that it's lying to you because the context window has gone bye-bye. But I didn't know that, and I've learned this the hard way over about 3 days of teeth-grinding frustration. So I can show, if you want a giggle, I can screen cap all of it. It's hysterical. Otherwise, I can show you what I do to make apps, but it's what you would do. Because I don't know what I'm doing either when it comes to building apps. So let the AI hold your hand. That's really it. Let me say, here's an interesting thing, Deb. I saw an advert for an AI sound generation tool. And I thought that's actually pretty cool because I wouldn't mind generating some royalty-free stuff, which obviously is a nice thing to have. It was called like not Musora. I'll find it for you. I installed it on my phone. Shockingly bad. I installed it within milliseconds, right? Only because the marketing people have absolutely wrecked that thing. If it actually was any good at some point, the technology is probably amazing, but you can't get through the layers of sign up and this, and it's embarrassingly bad. They've never actually onboarded their own product.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is the tools, generally speaking, I find that all they are like prompts in a box, right? When most of the models can do it, you just need to ask it to do it, right? Okay, so certain ones don't do videos, certain ones don't do images. But if you're doing written literary type work and not code work, they can all do whatever you want, right? They'll have a different angle on it. So you don't necessarily need to pay money for apps. There's a lot of people who are saying, you need to pay for this and that. If you're going to pay for anything, choose a paid GPT account for 20 quid a month. I think that's better than paying for an AI research tool right now when the
I'm paying
technology's
for Claude.
coming along so quickly. Oh, no, and that's great. Pay for Claude, pay for Grok, pay for whatever the one works for you, but don't pay for all these prompt in a box services yet. You're paying for their development. It's way too early.
Yeah, interesting. So we'll have to do a to be continued. Dr. Nick, we're expecting to have you back on May 14th. I hope you're available.
Very probably.
The June one, the June one, I'll probably have to change because weird. Discord didn't know that I changed clocks and thinks the show is just starting now. I'll have to fix that. The June one I might have to change because I'll be in London that week. We, depending upon, I'm still making my schedule. I haven't firmed up where I'm going to be on which day, but I think we should try to do a live broadcast together.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe from your shed. Live from Dr. Nick's shed with special guest Pier Mario? No. Okay.
Well, I think it would be cooler if it's June and it's typically pissing down with rain in central London. No. If it's a nice day, doing it outside a cafe or in a park somewhere would be really great. If it's a way of like just a laptop and we're in bandwidth range, or I can hack a local Wi-Fi, we'll do that. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we'll plan it.
Love to do that.
When I get closer to planning... Yeah, Melanie, get on a plane and come to London. And I will be holding a dinner in London as well on Friday, whatever's that second Friday in June. It's like Friday the 13, 14. So everybody put aside Friday night for a dinner and then a separate night for me and Nick to do a show. I'm going to play us out of here. Let me start the new end of show background music. Yes. Different music. I'm hoping to soothe people out of the show now, Nick. We hype them in and we hug them out.
Is this you? Did you play this?
This is the guy who wrote the other song. The guy who wrote the other song. This is one of his songs called Quit Forever, and if you read the lyrics, you're gonna feel it.
That's yeah, this feels like I'm playing out and the hero's just died on a hill somewhere, and it's like, oh well, I'm not sure. It's kind of melancholy, isn't it?
It is. This is the instrument. I peeled the. He gave me the stems, so I peeled off the singing. But you'll want to look up the original, which has him singing, and you will easily cry at this song because a lot of us will probably wonder, do we just quit forever?
It needs a strong bass line to come in, like a good jungle bass line to come in at this point, and that would recover it.
No, it gets softer and introspective. No, if you want that, go listen to his other songs, like How Much for That Dragon's Tooth. Okay.
And on that note...
Dragon's Tooth. Thanks to everybody for joining in, and special thanks to Nick. Connect with him on LinkedIn, and we will catch you guys again soon. Bye, everybody.
Mwah.